Well, hi there, everyone. Wanted to give a shout out to Lady Gaga. It's going to be her birthday in a few weeks, and I wish her all the best. This video I'm going to make is a bit more than that. I'm going to delve into a little bit of the conspiracy theories I've, excuse me, have dreamed up in my head impossible scenarios of what actually, mainstream famous person society is like. And unfortunately, I've drawn up some, less than positive aspects of it. Of course, there's many people who follow Lady Gaga's Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. They have some sort of idea that she has fibromyalgia, genuine weakness, sore body, and a lot of this can be brought upon by anxiety and things like that. Of which the treatment plan for it would be SNRIs or SSRIs, which are basically antidepressants. And, based on famous person's circle of friends, they can be pretty persuasive in the way they explain things. I would go so far as to say that she doesn't have fibromyalgia, and then that's just a story for the general public. Odds are she's partied hard for a number of years. Wouldn't be surprising if things just caught up with her, but I don't think she's particularly doing hard drugs or anything like that, so she shouldn't be conking out just yet. I mean, she's only going to be 32 at the end of the month, but I don't really know. I know nothing about that scene. However, there have been many of famous rockers in the past, like Ozzy Osbourne, for example, where they'd go to have a drink and somebody would be like, well, I'll do them a favor and put a little bit of whatever in it, LSD or something like that. And a lot of people attribute that to why Ozzy Osbourne's, a bit of a nutter. But with the advancement of biochemical drugs, compounds and things like that, in a lot of ways there are people, particularly who work for Big Pharma, who can make you feel any way they want you to. And, to dummy things up, they'll say, oh, it's fibromyalgia. It's you're feeling all the stress and anxiety, and it's making things worse for you. And how they treat that is with antidepressants, as I said. And the three most common ones they do it with, never heard of these ones before. I actually had to write them down, or I'd never remember them. One of them is called duloxetine, I think I pronounced that right, and milacilopan. Those are SNRIs, antidepressants, and pregabalin, SSRI, which is a different class of antidepressant. And I'm going to tell you, those are going to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Big Pharma is really pushing the antidepressant angle on things, because a lot of it has to do with psychology, I would think offhand. I don't really know, but I think that the point of antidepressants is to make you feel worse, but you're in a controlled environment, so you don't go off and do something stupid, something rash. And then eventually, when you're off of that stuff, you feel better, and you reflect upon the times where you felt physically terrible and you felt worse, and whatever vice or but whatever situation that brought you to that place you don't want to go back to. And therefore it's, you know, it's worked its effect. It's conditioned you into behaving the way they want you to. And it's more effective if you have a group of sycophants around you telling you that's the way it is. And, you know, a bunch of doctors come out, you know, famous people they can have lots of doctors. They come out, white coat, very serious, stern look on their face, tell you without, you know, blinking an eye that this is the way things are. And, yeah, you have a tendency to believe them. They can be very convincing. And you go, well, I'll go have x-rays, scopes, blood tests, and things like that. But if it's a psychological thing and they want you to think a certain thing, they may go, oh, we'll go do those tests, and then they do those tests, and then afterwards they just pull out a schematic or a blueprint of an x-ray or whatever that perpetuates the image they want you to see. So, in a sense, they're continuously lying to you, and that's, you know, a big problem with being an important, famous person, is that you can be surrounded by people who just lie all the time, and you have to kind of go in going, well, I know people lie, sometimes they don't want to, but they do it anyway, and there's various reasons why that would be, you know, because a lot of people have personal self-interest in mind. Some people just don't care, and some people are stupid, and you know, there's no better effective liar than someone who thinks they're telling the truth, in which case you need an idiot to tell it. My suspicion is that Lady Gaga has, she's not feeling great, and that's because it's artificially been induced by whatever was going on. I mean, I watched the documentary 5'2", and you know, if they jabbed her with an injection one time in the documentary, you could magnify that probably by 1,000. She probably had 1,000 injections. The fact that they even included it in her documentary, that's a big sign, and it's, you know, it's subtle, it's discreet, but it's a picture of a way bigger thing. I mean, nobody would whine and complain if all they got was one injection, but if you're getting one injection a day, maybe two, maybe three, it starts to get scary, and then you start feeling it. Your health starts, you know, deteriorating, or seeming so anyway. This is all in a manipulative manner as well. I mean, poor girl's not even 32 yet, and you know, a lot of people go, well, you're a full-grown adult by then, you know things. Don't be mistaken. You can still be manipulated as fuck. Anybody could be manipulated at 32. It's all about surroundings, what information is available to you, how you were already conditioned to understand things. There's all kinds of things that are going on, and you know, a lot of people go, well, I'll just go to Google for my answers. Well, if you're a famous person, you got your own version of Google, and it may just be a team of goons that specifically specializes in what content you as a famous person can watch. Like, she's worth, you know, $300 million, so obviously there will be a team of goons who, you know, do all the psychology and, you know, let her learn what they want her to learn, good and bad, and, you know, subliminally send in, you know, little messages here and there, and that could be manipulative to anybody. It's not like the olden days where, you know, a person could be celebrity and, you know, it's like no big deal. They go live in a regular house, live a regular life, and they're not going to have some freakazoid or creepo come along because they just don't know anything about them. These days, the creepazoids, and most certainly for Lady Gaga, like, know everything about her. They probably know, like, how many rolls of toilet paper she's got in her cupboard, for example, and things like that, just because they're attached for any amount of reasons. And, you know, all that's just messed up by any standard. It shouldn't be that way. I don't agree with it. But the propaganda apparatus, which is what you become when you're a famous person, is a very dangerous place for a lot of reasons. And a lot of people aspire to be wealthy, to be well liked, to do cool things. And most people, given the opportunity, if they knew they were going to get all those things, would jump at the chance at being, a famous person. Me on the other hand, I don't think that's necessary. I don't have to have anything to do with that to be successful. And there are a lot of people who think that too, but there's more to just success than, monetary gain and, an endless line of sycophants and comfortable life. There's also insider information and just knowing things before the rest of the sheep do, and that is what's more interesting. Having a say in what goes on in domestic politics, and maybe even foreign politics. Which brings me to my other point I wanted to make. You may go, okay, supposing, if you're going to entertain me on this, I know there are a lot of people who are fascists about it, go to any online chat room and disagree with her having fibromyalgia, and you'll have people coming out of the woodwork going, oh, I have fibromyalgia, blah, 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 blah. And you just go, no, you're not, you're a moderator and you're lying. That's not the same thing at all, you're just an asshole. Anyway, it's, the things are just different. And actually making, it's heresy to even have this kind of conspiracy thought almost, because there are a lot of people who just can't comprehend this idea or these set of ideas that I have to say. But there's sycophants not just in Lady Gaga's immediate circle. There are other ones in other countries too. Predominantly Asia. Asia, anyone who takes the center stage and tries to be an entertainer in the American country, they're sticking their nose right into their business as much as they can. And you may go, okay, if they're that creepy, our performers just won't perform there. You won't see Hilary Duff there, you won't see Lady Gaga there, you won't see Airborne there, you won't see Metallica there. Very true. But they still demand and demand and demand. And, we're obviously not going to budge on, putting a famous person there, which is why when Trudeau went to India and Trump was supposedly visiting, the Asian countries, bullshit, all of it. If either of those guys were anywhere near there, their army, which would be massive, would just swarm them and take them because they're worth too much money, too important to Western society, and that can't happen, so they didn't go there. And you look at their pictures that they put to the public and you go, oh yeah, that's not evidence of anything. Like Trudeau wearing a traditional Indian thing around his head, you see him standing in front of a building and you go, could have been photoshopped. Government's not good at doing it. Anyway. The thing is, entertainers do still go to Asia because Asia still demands them to. And they do this for entertainment purposes because they're record DJs, they're basically the people who can profit by having a famous person going over there and performing. It's still a real thing, and the Western government still sends people over there. They send people, white people, over there to Korea to perform in the Olympics. And South Korea, that's a whole other bag that I'll talk about later. Not in this video, at another time, explaining what's wrong with that country. Anyway, these are what you would call lesser celebrities. And lesser celebrities, no regular person's heard of them. All kinds of information available about them on other media platforms that aren't available to the general public. So, you know, a person like Lady Gaga knows when, you know, maybe doppelgangers, but, you know, people who are performing her songs in less than friendly countries, you know, countries that do anything to make a buck. You know, they're not her. They just, maybe they kind of look like her, kind of sound like her, and, you know, on a rock stage in, you know, dirt poor country, there ain't many people who are gonna notice the difference anyway. I mean, who even knows what their perception of what that famous person is in the first place? What if they go, we've only ever seen pictures of, you know, the lesser celebrity, the doppelganger, to perform as the lead one. And this is all division and control. And, you know, it goes down the line every now and then. And there is this clip from Family Guy, which is very thought-provoking, which was something Hilary Duff in Family Guy in an episode. And basically, she's in a cage, and there's this very wealthy Asian man, and I forgot what he was complaining about, something like that, and then he tells Hilary Duff to dance. Anyway, Hilary Duff's not in Asia. She's never been there before. That's a lie. But is there a white person there that's supposed to play as her whom can never leave Asia because it makes that rich Asian money? Most certainly. And, you know, they made it, you know, she wasn't emaciated or anything like that in the cartoon that I saw. I haven't seen the full episode, don't want to say really, it kind of scares the crap out of me. But, you know, Asians are, they're known for beating and starving and doing other horrible things to things in cages. And, you know, really human beings are just a different type of animal, really, so, that's, you know, it pulls on the heartstrings, it really does. And, again, this is sort of heresy sort of things, but them being a representation of Lady Gaga, for example, can mean that, you know, if she doesn't perform a certain way, or even if she bets on the wrong horse, she was on the horse that, you know, wanted Hillary Clinton to win, and she didn't win. She's been pushing a agenda on social change in America that's not panned out in her favor. I don't think it's because she's stupid or anything like that, or she was wrong. It just didn't work out that way. And, you know, that could cost her. But it did. And it was more than just having, you know, a woman as a president. It was more than that. And, I mean, whether you agree with me or not, you should believe that it was more than that. And, you know, they may go, well, that Asian bastard, you know, with basically white slaves in cages and things like that, is going to make less money because he didn't win, because, you know, let's face it, the Asians, any chance to emasculate us, they'll do it. They'll do anything to, you know, discredit our army or anything like that. You just got to look at Vietnam and the propaganda that came out of that. And, you know, a lot of people still believe that the Vietnam War was lost. Well, not a single American house was destroyed because of the Vietnamese, so take that into consideration. So communist rule took over Vietnam. Sure, they snatched up a couple of white Marines and did horrible things to them and videotaped it. Again, heresy speaking, shouldn't talk about it, but, you know, to illustrate my point, I have to mention it. Really demoralizing. We don't see that sort of stuff over here, and it would be way better if we didn't. That's why they cannot hijack our internet with their, you know, fiber optics and all this other shit. Never should have given the gooks the fucking internet in the first place. I don't know who fucking brainless idea that was. Don't care. Doesn't matter. Anyway, since Gaga was in her particular position, her lesser self, which is basically probably a woman who has all the same sort of belief system as her, same experiences, maybe even a childhood friend or whatever, a doppelganger, anything, things would have gotten worse for her. And, you know, part of the cult of personality is the fact that there's more than one person sitting in the top seat. And there will be elements of that cult of personality, but plus the, you know, the heartstring factor that, you know, they don't blame Gaga, but they go, well, this will alleviate things a little bit. Some of them don't blame her, some of them do blame her. You know, it was a calculated risk she took by wholeheartedly supporting Hillary Clinton. That was a lot bigger thing than a lot of people realize, and it didn't work for her. And, you know, they have a tendency to make people feel it when other people are put at risk or are in significant problems because of decisions made by people, you know, in supposedly a relative comfortable position. So, you know, them turn around going, well, we're going to give her medicine that makes her feel like crap. It's not going to kill her, so therefore it's not as bad as, you know, poor doppelganger in Asia. Which reminds me, being a doppelganger to a celebrity is probably the biggest curse. You have none of their powers, and everything that goes wrong, they need a scapegoat, so you're likely to be it. Taylor Swift had a doppelganger by the name of April Gloria, and you don't hear much of her anymore, and it's just like, you can't look like somebody that much like her and not get a job. It's exactly like that Iraqi movie, I forget who made it, The Devil's Double is what it was called. And there was this one Kurdish man who looked like something like 95% like Uday, and he tried to escape, and, you know, like, obviously Uday went after him because he was telling him, look, you can never leave, and all this other stuff. I forgot how that went in. I think, well, Uday's dead. But I don't remember what happened in that movie. I was drunk when I watched it. But, you know, actually it wasn't too bad a movie. But I think you needed to watch it with subtitles. Or did you? Was it in English? I don't remember. But, you know, that was the whole point. And so her sickness is very real. And, you know, it is wise to say, simplify it and go, it's just fibromyalgia, she'll get over it. Yeah. That would be a wise idea, you know, just go, hey man, don't be a fool here, man, or you'll find yourself in the same boat. But, you know, it's all about, you know, perception and what angle you got and where you are and what you can do. And sometimes the only friend you have is yourself, and not your doppelganger, or the sycophants, or the hordes of people who know who you are, but, you know, are too distracted by their mediocre, boring lives, or some shit like that. Who knows? Yeah, it's just this is what fuels my hatred of places like Asia, and it's just like, sure, this is a bit long-winded of a speech I've just made, but like, I could explain this to anybody, and that might be why when I make a comment on social media, or I try to tell a friend or something like that, I get no conversation. It's silence. And it's just like, is this like the Blair Witch Project where I should be like, I'm so scared? Well, I'm not. And that took a minute because I had to decide, when was the last time I used the washroom? So, you know, you gotta be conscientious about that sort of stuff. Don't want to stain my underpants. Anyway, that was disgusting. I shouldn't have done that. We'll forget about that. But anyway, you know, I talked about some serious things here, real serious things like creepy things like fucking Twilight Zone creepy fucking things. And, you know, a famous person with a lot of money like Lady Gaga, it's not like she can run away, especially if she feels sick. Yeah, like where's she gonna go? Someone's gonna find her. And you know, her house is probably, I don't know if it has, you know, cameras and things like that, but you know, they could put cameras anywhere these days and you'd never know they were there. And they also have radio equipment that can hear through walls as well, so this is all, you know, like, yeah, and since we only get the, you know, the junk version, the butt end of the story on the internet and things like that, you know, anything could be going on over there and we, like, wouldn't know about it. They could even assassinate her. Similar to Marilyn Monroe, except, like, they may never have to admit that they ever did that. They may just push out propaganda suggesting, oh, here she is, doing this, doing that, she's taking a seat back from famous celebrity person status, and then she just sort of drifts away into the background, but really they assassinated her or something like that. It's a possibility they can do that. You know, create blurry footage of someone who meets the specifications of Lady Gaga 10 years down the road walking into a nightclub or anything like that, and it's just like, you'd be amazed how many people actually believe that shit. It doesn't even have to be high def or anything. And like I said, there are also doppelgangers. Basically any famous person, first thing they do, the cult of personality, is go looking around for doppelgangers. Anyone who looks close enough like them, because they can be put to use. So I mean, this video started off as, you know, happy birthday, early one to Lady Gaga, and you know, like I've spun off into a whole conspiracy tinfoil hat kind of regime. But you know, I had a good reason for it, and you know, so I'm saying, like, I do genuinely feel bad for her. I know a lot of people, you know, they go, well, I don't care, she's, you know, she's weird, she's ugly, she believes in things I don't believe in, and all that sort of stuff. A, we don't know how hardcore she is about that stuff, although I'm sure in some instances she is. We don't know if she's a bad person because, you know, people will do things on her behalf without her even asking or even knowing about. So, I mean, you gotta take that in consideration. So, I mean, friends of hers may hate each other, and, you know, it's kind of hard to go, you know, if you haven't seen a friend for 6 months or something like that, and you realize, you know, I've had to go through a whole lot of bullshit because of this friend of hers. You know, you try to look the other way and go, well, that's not her fault, or their fault, or his fault, or whatever, but it's hard to, you know, not take that into consideration. Because where there's money, there'll be people at each other's throats. And I really wish it would just contain within, you know, our own countries, the Western Axis powers, because shouldn't be any, you know, it shouldn't be any gook's business what goes on in our celebrity world, but evidently they think they have 2 cents in the matter. And since they control a fair amount of resources that we need, like these Apple phones, computer chips, and, you know, all kinds of shit, and it's just like, do you really need that? Do you really need a smartphone that you can dunk in the toilet and it can video record at the same time? Do you really need that? No, you don't. But, you know, there are other people who represent businesses that are overseas in Asia, and they're going, hey man, I can't tell this guy, you know, we're not doing business with him because they're a bunch of assholes. How am I supposed to say that and, you know, like, have them not chop me up into little bits? Imagine telling the Yakuza, I'm sorry, we're not going to do business with you because you're a bunch of savage cocksuckers and we don't like you. I'm going now, bye-bye. It's easy to say over here, but if you're the poor sucker over there, having to say it, it's a little more difficult, as they don't like taking no for an answer when there's money involved. But they don't have a choice because they're, you know, they're pygmies, third world garbage compared to us. And if you think, oh, that's a racist thing for you to say, Ryan, don't say that. those people in the upstairs, they've seen a lot more than I have, and I've seen plenty to have why I have my opinions. So they're probably like way more extreme about their dislike of them than I am. And you know, I'm enough that way anyway. Proportionally correct, actually, I think. You know, I'm a reasonable guy. I'm not gonna, you know, do something reckless like, you know, just give a finger to a gook on the bus for no reason. Hey, you gook! For no reason. Hey, you Chinaman, your whole country is poor. Although that'd be rip-roaring fun to do, I ain't gonna do it. So I talked about a bunch of things in this video, and you know, despite the fact I didn't agree with a lot of things that Gaga did, and the fact that she's probably really gross in a lot of ways, and you know, she's surrounded by people like, who could like those people? Like, seriously. And then who knows what else? That's just the stuff, you know, like my limited imagination could have cobbled up. I know what else was going on. It's almost starting to sound real creepy, man. And you know, like I mentioned that, you know, the Marilyn Monroe comparison, and you know, that was a tragic thing, very tragic. And to Marilyn Monroe, and you know, that was it. Her stint in history was over at 36, and you know, that isn't right. Like, I like Marlene Dietrich because she lived until she was like 90, and then she had a daughter, and that daughter had 4 sons, and it's just, you know, it kept going. You know, there are people out there going, yeah, Marlene Dietrich, that was my grandmother, blah, 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 blah. But there won't be anyone saying that about Marilyn Monroe. And it'd be a true tragedy if someone, you know, 50 years down the road said the same thing about Lady Gaga. I wouldn't like that at all. I'm sure other more intelligent, more capable people than me have already thought of that and done the best they could to prevent that from happening. Because that would just not be good. You know, well, it's a slap to the face of Western society for one thing, that, you know, in the end, the creepazoids against the people who have no choice but to be a little bit off because of the way society is structured at the time being, and them winning, slap in the face to Western society. I mean, a lot of things Gaga does and has done I don't agree with, but you know, a lot of that was just because it was the cult that she grew up in. It was the atmosphere and things like that, and you know, it brainwashed her. You know, I'm not going to say she, you know, doesn't full-heartedly believe what she does, or know less about it than I do, because I don't know that much. I'm just saying some things. But I'm saying, you know, your social environment you grow up in makes a big deal, big difference. Plenty of women who, you know, don't stomp up and down for the same sort of rights, and it's those people that shouldn't influence future famous persons into similar weird kind of evolution for humankind. You know, obviously we don't want things to turn back into the 50s where, you know, everything was kind of crazy and kind of like a bland, boring sort of way. But, you know, human society's got to evolve in the correct direction. Oh, and if anyone, I'm going to wrap this video up, okay? But this video, you may have noticed I'm wearing a chicken foot shirt. It's a hilarious story. Well, not really. For me, it's hilarious. Anyway, like, I'd seen this shirt at the music shop, and, you know, I remember the Aqua Teen Hunger Force reference. And, you know, that was a good episode. Very educational, and it had some funny moments, even though it was creepy. I said, I ain't listened to a single song of Chickenfoot. I don't even know if they're a band or not. But I'm going to buy this shirt because I watched the Aqua Teen Hunger Force episode, and that was a good episode. Then I went home and checked out some of Chickenfoot's songs, and you know, actually they weren't too bad. Wouldn't normally listen to them because they didn't, you know, stand out that much, but you know, they weren't too bad. They were an okay band, and you know, Aqua Teen Hunger Force has had a lot of bad episodes, but they've had a few really good episodes, and the episode they were in called I Am a Pod, very educational, in a very creepy sort of way, but you know, creepy, but you know, like kind of like you can tolerate it, and your imagination kind of fills in the rest. Groupies. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Have a good one.